The second playtest of Versus Mode is coming to a close, and while there were some fantastic changes made from the closed alpha, there is still a few things that need to be done. Overall though, the changes that have been made so far are all really good. They've significantly reduced the amount of pickups found throughout the map, increased the overall horde spawns, nerfed some problematic talents like reducing scavenger to 5%, increased the damage falloff of the handgun, and gave some buffs to Skaven, including upping the pounce damage on the assassin, increasing the range of the hookrat's grab, and increasing the speed of the damage ticks from Globadier gas. However, there is one main change from the closed alpha that I believe needs some more tweaking, which are the addition of the DLC careers. I can't lie, they're overall more balanced than I was anticipating them to be, but there are still some issues. While Sister and her staff are sort of balanced, it's just not fun to be suddenly lifted and be forced to sit there for a few seconds with zero counterplay, and it becomes even less fun when you figure out you can reset the lift timer on a lifted target by just lifting them again while they're already in the air. Staff becomes even more oppressive though when you run a temp HP comp with careers like Merc or Warrior Priest so that she can freely vent her overheat, which allows her to just nullify half of the enemies at all times. Staff is still a nightmare to balance and play against, which is why I just say remove it. And speaking of Warrior Priest, he is really good at the moment. The closed alpha was centered around a ranged heavy meta since handgun was so powerful, but now that handgun has been nerfed, the meta has shifted to a more temp HP tank focused meta, and I found that the vital linchpin of this group is always Warrior Priest. The amount of defensive utility he offers the team allows your team to lean into the hold W and speedrun mentality, which the rats can't do much of anything to counter. From Fury Fortitude is absolutely busted since you are in Fury for most of the match, which means that you are constantly healing your party as long as the Warrior Priest lives. Invulnerability as an ultimate is as powerful as it is in PvE, and while United in Prayer is still good enough to be best in slot most of the time, you can run Comet's Gift to completely undo a successful ambush on one person every few minutes. His lack of ranged weapons isn't enough of a downside either, as he is such a powerful enabler that he can allow his team to freely kill specials by granting them total invulnerability and knockback resistance. His bubble also acts as a mistake nullifier, as you can save someone from a mistake or misplay and completely block the Skaven the opportunity to capitalize on it. This gets even worse when you drink a concentration potion, as he can bubble twice in about 10 seconds and allow his team to speed past entire sections of the map with zero fear. I actually have a controversial opinion that Warrior Priest is the new Battle Wizard in terms of strength, which is totally fine in PvE and something I actually encourage, which I'll talk about in another video, but for PvP, it's just not okay. In my opinion, Warrior Priest is the last thing on the hero's side that is genuinely overpowered and needs to be toned down. I would recommend either disabling From Fury Fortitude, just like Lingering Flames has been disabled, or the cooldown timer of his bubble should be increased, but do not do both. Also, something else that should be mentioned is Foot Knight. Overall, he's in a really good spot, but his talent Comrades in Arms might need a slight damage reduction nerf as well, because 50% is insane for Versus Mode. Foot Knights who run this can make one of their teammates almost impossible to kill, so a tiny reduction from 50% down to something like 40 or even 30% wouldn't be a bad idea either. There is one more glaring flaw in Versus Mode, however, and it specifically has to do with the matchmaking system. Simply put, there needs to be some kind of MMR within Versus, otherwise the game mode will not survive. The suggestions I've made for balance in this video and my previous Versus video are great and all, but none of them will ever matter if a team of 4 new players are pit against a team of 4 veterans. Even having 2 veteran players on a team wildly swings the matches in favor of the team with the veterans on it, and no matter how much balancing and tweaking Fat Shark does will ever make the match fair for the newer players. I personally dislike MMR systems in PvP games because they tend to make the games too competitive for my personal taste, but after my experiences in both alphas, I am adamant in my belief that versus mode needs one. During the first closed alpha, I played for roughly 10 hours, all of which was on stream with a group of 2 other players, which left us with 1 random. In our 10 hours of gameplay, back when the heroes were wildly overpowered, we had a 100% win rate. You did not mishear that. We won every single game we played. And in this open alpha, after the heroes have been nerfed and the rats have been buffed, we still have a 100% win rate after roughly 12 additional hours. I personally have only lost a single game between both alphas, which was the game where my team and I purposefully split up 2 and 2 and queued together at the same time to go against each other. In other words, I've only lost a game against my own team. Now, I do understand that this is partially due to the fact that my team and I have versus experience, whereas our enemies most likely do not, but even after waiting a few days and trying again, and even queuing as a solo player, I have still yet to lose a game that wasn't a backfill. And not only have I won almost every single game I've played, most of my and my team's wins have been complete and utter stomps of the enemy team, which has made us feel bad for ruining people's games and soured our experience quite heavily, not to mention it absolutely ruining the other team's experience as well. I'm not sharing this information to gloat or to stroke my own ego. I'm sharing this because this is a legitimate issue. Because no matter which way you look at it, a group of lesser skilled individuals will not be able to reliably defeat a group of greater skilled individuals, and the only way balance can truly be achieved is if you put in place a soft MMR system that prioritizes putting similarly skilled players in the same lobby. However, it's not as easy as slapping in an MMR system and calling it a day. Vermintide does not have the player base to support a super strict MMR system. The queue times of versus would become incredibly long, which would also doom the entire game mode to an early grave. The MMR system for versus must be strict enough to place opponents of a similar skill level together, but not so strict that it only puts equally skilled players together, or else the queue times will be too long, which is what I typically refer to as a soft MMR system. My initial suggestion would be to separate players based upon hours played, but I am certainly no expert in how MMR systems work, and I certainly don't know if this is even a possibility to begin with. The bottom line, though, is that there must be something in place to stop a 4-man pre-made of veterans from going against 4 brand new players, because if not, this kind of situation will become more and more frequent.
It's the same premium, same previous. No, it's the entire team.
Oh god.
The same.
Oh. Yeah.
Nope.
Oh no! Oh no!
We even waited to queue. I'm just. Is that it? Does it abort? Are we doing it?
As soon as the game starts, it's gonna end.
I also think that adding private lobbies would help a lot to alleviate this issue. Giving veterans the ability to create 8-man lobbies would simultaneously give them an outlet to play at their skill level, while also granting the newer players a bit more peace of mind that when they queue for a versus match, they're not going to get dunked on by SEAL Team 6. But I want to hear your experience with the new mode. Let me know what you think of versus down in the comments below.